God damn it, that's hot. Good morning, internets, detubians, steamians, wherever you are in the world. It is 10:47 a.m., October the 4th. Can you believe, first of all, it was like the end of September, which was not really a shock because September had just blasted through. And then it was like fresh month energy, and now it's 4 days into the month. Like, I'll be honest with you, those last 4 days, I don't really have that much comprehension of, which is a bit concerning, isn't it, really? This morning, my batteries went in my trusty keyboard. This is what probably become one of my favourite keyboards of all time. I would say close to the Apple keyboard. Yes, I've lost a number 3. Always put the sleeve or cover on these things before putting it into a rucksack. I have to say, this one, I think this is the K510. I'm not sure, but now it's worn in. You can see with the keys discolored a little bit where I'll give it some hammer. This little thing, this little wireless keyboard is absolutely amazing. And I decided that when I upgraded a wireless keyboard, I was hard and fast on the Apple wireless keyboard for probably about 3 years. Absolutely love that thing. Incredibly machined, well made. This is better than that. It's kind of hard to say it, but it really is better than that. And with the Anyloop batteries, so I got the really good Panasonic Anyloop batteries. They just died today, and I bought the Anyloop batteries. I had a look on Amazon on the 19th of May. They've lasted like 3 months on that, on the already charged. They came charged, so they were just like, I'm shocked. I'm kind of shocked because you can do those batteries, I think, for 1,000 cycles. I think, I'm not sure. And this is the first time I've charged them in 3 months, which is a pretty good rate, really, when you consider. I think they were about $12.99 for 4. This takes 2. So I just put them on for a couple of hours. I had to use my gaming keyboard this morning, which was clackety, and the I key is sticking, so I've got to loosen that up. Luckily, I only use that for WASD for gaming keys. But heartily recommend Logitech K510 and the Anyloop batteries. Today's little vlog, and I'll make it quick because I wrote more than I'm actually going to put in here, is about upgrades, the pursuit of the upgrade. I'm running on quite old electronics technology. I can't afford to upgrade. I've got more other things, pressing things that I want to get done before I upgrade my technology. And I feel like upgrading technology now, we've kind of hit a plateau. Something that we don't really talk about. We talk about climate change, and we talk about housing issues and food and all of these kind of emergencies. We're basically on high alert emergencies planet Earth right now, but nobody's really talking about upgrades, like technology upgrades. It seems to me that we've kind of hit this plateau of, if you've not upgraded your machines or your technology in the last couple of years, there's a chance that a lot of that stuff is vulnerable to attacks. So if you're not upgrading, if you can't afford to upgrade, you're actually part of the problem when it comes to DOS attacks and bad firmware and just vulnerable hardware. Intel's had all these CPU issues. There's issues with Internet of Things, with bad firmware on devices. China's pumped out a load of stuff that's poorly made and end up being, people buy it because it's cheap and it does the job, but then we end up with DOS attacks that are 70 gigabytes in size, gigabits in size. And so I feel like we've hit this uncharted territory when it comes to technology, because you need to earn money to be able to buy new hardware. And the hardware nowadays, if you buy a brand new iPhone, so let's take the iPhone 11 Pro, right? This wonderful piece of technology, piece of engineering. They've made the battery bigger. We're not really innovating as such. I guess adding 3 cameras in and in software, managing the ins and outs and the zooms and stuff. It's kind of neat. It's kind of cool. But really, we're not innovating as such. We're just adding more stuff in. The battery itself is like an L shape instead of a long shape. So they've innovated the way to make it into an L. It might be 2 batteries actually pretending to be 1. But my point is that something like that now is a lot of money, like £1,500 I think it is in the UK to get an iPhone 11 Pro. Now, don't get me wrong here, it is practically a supercomputer in your pocket compared to what we use to send a rocket to the moon. But I'm starting to, and at the other end of the scale, you can use something like a Raspberry Pi 4, which is ARM technology, which is not vulnerable to these Spectra attacks on the basic low-level hardware of the machine. But it's getting difficult to keep up. But my concern is this: even if I could keep up with technology, isn't it on me as a technologist as well to be concerned, to care about other people's technology as well? Because if people around me are using technology which is out of date or vulnerable or open to attack, or is affecting their businesses some way, I don't know what their business is. It might be distribution, it might be food, fish, you know what I mean? It could be anything to do with the way my life operates. So I feel like it's on us as technologists to help people deal with those things, to bring them up as well. And I'm seeing it more and more. I feel like this is an undocumented conversation that's happening. The more we sort of open up cryptocurrency, the more that we have the ability to move digital cash around, the more enabling that is, I think, for the crime syndicates, the underground, like the black market. And I kind of understand the reaction to it, but I feel like my machines, my technology, my devices, because they're old, I'm actually potentially, and not unbeknownst to me most of the time, part of a potential audience that if these CPUs are out of date, if their networking cards are out of date, if there's a bug in any of the hardware, then that limits me to be able to work in digital. Because at some point you will only be able to work in digital if you have custom firmware, custom devices, up-to-date devices, and the churn rate of CPUs, silicon, chips in general is going to be massive. I think we're going to end up with, we've already got a problem with plastics leaking into the water table, and it's all over our oceans, and it's been around like that for 50-60 years since plastic has really been commercialized. But also I think we've got like a silicon issue as well, because at some point we're going to get to this point where an engineer is going to put out an incredible chipset, but then 2 months later, after pumping out 100,000, 200,000 of these chips, maybe it's a gaming GPU, as soon as somebody finds a vulnerability to it, at a hardware level, if there's something physically wrong with the hardware, running that makes you part of this network of zombie bots, for instance. So I'm concerned that this is like a sleeping giant that we don't really talk about. We had a big thing got leaked about, I think it was Supermicro, which is either Taiwanese or South Korean, somewhere over that side of the world. They supposedly somebody had got into their supply chain at the very, very front, you know, with all the like the technology pieces that go on the board, and there was like spy chips on that stuff. And so, you know, American companies and other big states had to go through their technology arsenal looking for this kind of like micro tiny little chip on their board to see if they were vulnerable to that stuff. And that's just going to get more and more prevalent. So I wrote a whole thing about it, about chasing the money to be up to date or vulnerable in the game. And it makes me wonder about digital, like where do we go from here? If everything's going to be AI, or if a lot of this heavy lifting is done by AI, where do we fit into this? Do we just become subscribers to that stuff? I think whoever came up with the idea of connecting remotely to like a virtual instance of your digital presence, I think that's going to be the thing. I think VR, augmented reality, subscription base, low latency, high speed networks, as if you had a machine locally that you never have to upgrade. I think that's going to be the thing. So the interconnects, the mesh networks, the local networking, the network connection you have to the web is going to be more important than the hardware that you run, because mostly everything is going to be run inside of a container. Containers inside of containers inside of containers. It's a wild world being on technology, isn't it? Anyway, just my thoughts today. Leave a comment if you wish. Have a great weekend. I will see you soon. Bye. Drifting